It's your Dallas Cowboys Fish Report, breakfast at Fish and East, 7:20 weekday mornings, and whenever we darn please. I'm Mike Fisher, your trusty and trusted reporter. This morning's program, if you give me 12 Cowboys minutes, I'll give you the Cowboys world on this particular subject. I did have a recent conversation with Troy Aikman. I've had a skillion of them, to use one of Jerry Jones's old favorite words. And among the things that often pops up, not only in our conversation, but also in your Christmas time conversation. Every year for the past few years, why don't we just hire Aikman to be the GM? All right. Why don't we? Or at least, why don't we talk about it? Get in, get on, be good. Bring something intellectual to the table. Only 3 slappies allowed per program. Welcome this morning to Troy and Todd and Rick. Craig made it. Gregory's here. DB, AD, Joey, David Harmon. Spread the word, tell your friends. Would you please hit the like button this morning or over the course of the day as you watch this? And that's what frequently happens. Some people just don't get up this early. Then would you subscribe to what we do here? It's free and worth every penny. And spread the word. By the way, tomorrow, Friday, is Prize Day. What? Speaking of Troy Aikman. So make sure you're tuning into the program all day Friday, 7:20 in the morning, 6 p.m., Fish at 6, live at night. Brian Cusack is here. There's Edwin, Steven, of course. Curtis B. Can't do it without him. Francisco Hernandez. Fish, give me the scoop. Give me the scoop on the boys. Straight dope, no bullsh. Let's do it. In the minds of nostalgic fans, or maybe even genius fans like you, it's Aikman and Jimmy representing the Cowboys in the last 35 years at their very best. The dream of Dallas Cowboys team owner, Jerry Jones, bowing out, or at least shuffling off sideways a little bit. It's your dream. I've had this communicated to me by countless Cowboy fans, some of them in a way that reflects anger and apathy towards Mr. Jones. Some of you respect what he's accomplished, but next October he'll be 83. This way hasn't worked for decades, hasn't worked in the way that you think you deserve and that he has promised you. So the dream, Jerry, bow out or at least move sideways to make room for what Cowboys Nation often terms a real GM. It is, we all know, a dreamy concept that essentially starts and stops with Jones's training camp remark about his own qualifications for the job. Remember, it was pithy, it was profane, and it was kind of pompous. I've done it all, said Jerry. Nobody can do it like I can. Hell no. Nobody can bleep it. Okay. And when he said that at the time, I recognized what he meant. Nobody can do it quite like he does it. And there's some advantages. There's some streamlining advantages to that. It's the streamlined thing is a factor. When they want to get something done, boy, they can get it done. They don't have to go begging the owner because the owner's already the general manager. And also, they don't have to have a general manager who makes moves just to save his butt. The bad news is Jerry will never fire himself. The positive news is the GM doesn't have to make moves that just rescue himself for one more year. But overall, this has not worked. And because it's Christmas, it's time to allow visions of sugar plums and coveted gifts to dance into your head. The subject of Aikman as general manager comes up about once a year. I find myself talking about it, writing about it once a year. And why? Because we are on the verge now of another season that is not what you dreamed it would be, and not what Troy privately wishes it would be too. And so it's going to come a time. Season's going to end. Aikman, in his role as not only a national TV voice, but also in his role as a Dallas-loving elder statesman around here, he will be asked to review yet another Cowboy season that's come up short. And so it'll inevitably be broached. What about Troy as GM? And now in the last couple of years, now we've got, what about Jimmy coming back? That's a fresh idea. Now that Jerry has put the Hall of Fame coach into his Ring of Honor. So 35 years as a beat writer covering this team and these personalities and talking to them about these ideas. Is there anything realistic about any of this? Express your dream in the comments. I will read every one of them. Joey with a great question. Does Troy play well with others? And of course, it's cleverly phrased by Joey. And what Joey's insinuating, and it's a good one, I will use the word meticulous with Aikman. Maybe to a fault. I think it'd be fun to be Troy Aikman's roommate when it was time to go out and get an 8 beer. I don't think it would be fun to be Troy Aikman's roommate if you accidentally left a plate in the sink or a pair of shoes in the living room. So in that sense, the meticulous nature of Troy Aikman, it's a good question. And I argue back that in a perfect, dreamy world, one of the things that this organization, football side, could use is discipline and organization, almost to the point of OCD anal. And yes, I just went there on Aikman. I mean, meticulous, maybe to a fault. And I mean that in the most lovely way. Let's dismiss Jimmy to Dallas immediately. Jimmy turns 82 this summer. He would have to give up his beautifully designed Florida beach lifestyle to return to this incredible grind. He's not doing that. Being a phone call away from answering Jimmy's requests for advice all day long. But he's not moving here. He's not taking a real job. He's not giving up the sweet life. Zero chance. Let's not immediately dismiss Troy, though. And here's why. I've had this conversation with him over the years and recently. I remind you first, and if this is a comfort in any way, you're welcome. He does have a love for the star. I don't think obviously in his national job at ESPN, that's not the message he wants to send. He doesn't want the other 32 teams and fans of the other 31 teams to think he loves them less. So he's trying to be as fair as he can. And sometimes even to the point where he might be a little harsher on the Cowboys because he bends over backwards. You know, like when you coach your kid, if you're smart and you coach your kid and you're the hardest on him, and then if you're driving home and he says, Daddy, why am I the one you're always yelling at? And you explain to him. That sets a standard. It's gonna be harder on you. Ramon, $5 pitch in. He could be a special consultant. He absolutely could be that. Troy Aikman, not only Jimmy, Troy Aikman could be a special consultant. And that might help. I take it back. It would help. By the way, I've never asked either one of them, Jerry or Steven, this. Jerry or Aikman, this. I know who Jerry calls, when he wanted to look at running backs, and I think probably still, hey, Barry, look at this college running back. Tell me what you think. I know he does that. Pass rushers. He calls Charles Haley. He says, Charles, look at this film. Tell me what you see. So Troy in that capacity, that one's easy. Steve, Fish, Troy will not work harder and longer for less money. Interesting. That's a beard scratcher. Because I have you should put yours as a question because I have the answer. Aikman loves the star, and that. Oh, and by the way, he loves Jerry too. In their way, and that offsets. As far as I'm concerned, again, based on my conversations with the principals, that offsets whatever dismay the 3-time Super Bowl winning quarterback and Hall of Famer Aikman expresses over what he views as an inadequate Jones management style. Is that a nice way of saying it? And the notion of running a team really does intrigue him. So one more time, he hates Jerry. He doesn't care about the Cowboys. He loves the Cowboys. He does not hate Jerry. And his passion for getting all of that right overrides his displeasure and dismay over the things he sees that he believes are wrong. Aikman, 58 years old now. 58 going on 38. Empty nester. Those two little girls are off to college. Loves the life he's carved out for himself. Most prominently, voice on ESPN's Monday Night Football. He's now an institution. He's been doing this for what, 20 years? Making $18 million a year, working hard, but part-time with enough freedom to get deeply involved in his worlds of business, charity, and travel. Probably out there chasing women too. So I'm here to tell you, based on my conversations with the principals, that your beloved Troy Aikman would seriously consider giving up ESPN, $18 million a year, to work part-time. Work hard, but work part-time, to dive headfirst into that aforementioned grind, that Jimmy grind that there's no way he should want. Aikman would consider it. Seriously consider it. What? Seriously consider it. Jose, Michael Irvin loves the Cowboys more than any player. Michael Irvin, friend of the show. You don't have to tell me. KB, Troy once said he'd do it for free. That's a good one too. It's a real good one. They would never ask him to do that. I'll put it this way. I think, well, I'll get to that in a minute. But you make a great point. You're on the right track. He would have to travel less. His world of business, there's not enough time in the day. He'd keep his charity. His business world, there's not enough time in the day. And I'm going to tell you something. He would have to give up his hands-on business interests. Otherwise, he's doing the same thing, making the same mistake that Jerry's making. One of my greatest criticisms of Jerry is he's got his finger in too many pies. You just can't do it all. Not when you're 82, not when you're 32. You can't be the president of 80 companies and run them all. Something's going to suffer. So the same logic would work with Troy. You want to be all in? Use the phrase around here. And Aikman would be all in if indeed they made this arrangement. But that one condition, he would not do it to be a figurehead. He would not do it to be a publicity stunt. He would not do it to front a circus. It would be an incredible PR stroke. In fact, I'll do it this way. It just occurred to me. The only way that you're going to swallow, nothing against Mike McCarthy, but the possibility that they retain Mike McCarthy. The only way not the only way, the way that you would swallow that is you put the bitter pill inside of a cookie. You barely even know you're eating the bitter pill. I'd like to announce that Mike McCarthy's coming back as the head coach, says Jerry Jones at a January press conference. And I'd like to introduce one more guy. And out from the curtain comes Troy Aikman. You wouldn't have any problem with Mike McCarthy that day, would you? Wouldn't have any problem with Jerry Jones that day either. But Aikman doesn't want to be the figurehead, doesn't want to be a PR stunt, although that'd be a PR bonanza, and doesn't want to front a circus. Aikman would work for the Joneses, but in his vision, he would be a general manager in a conventional NFL sense. Like all the other ones. Almost all the other, not all. John Lynch, great deal of power in San Francisco, but he still works for the owner. The owner can someday fire him. Reach in Kansas City. Clark Hunt's involved, but the general manager is the general manager. He runs the football, and he's subjected to being fired if someday it doesn't work. Aikman would want the customary power that goes with being a conventional GM. And of course, the pressure of being great would be a part of it, which comes with the threat of getting fired someday. Trust me, Troy could live with that. Here's how I've written this line in response to what you said about salary. Trust me, Troy could live with all that pressure and all the demands, and he would bet his pristine reputation that he'd lead the Cowboys back to greatness too, to the point where it wouldn't be about money at all. Jerry and Steven will never fire themselves. Aikman, I think if he failed to succeed as the Cowboys GM inside a certain window, he'd admit it. At which point he'd say, "You don't owe me anything. I didn't get it done." He'd admit it. He'd admit, I thought I could do it. Thought I could turn around in X years. I didn't do it. I admit it. I failed. That admission, of course, is something else that Jerry and Steven will never do. The problem, obviously, would the Pro Football Hall of Famer Jones ever hire Aikman in any capacity? Yes. If Aikman said, "I'm going to be a consultant, pay me, give me an office and buy me a burger," that'd be good. What about assistant general manager? Would Jerry ever do that? If Aikman said, "I want to come be the assistant general, I'm going to learn. I'm going to be Will McClay's right-hand guy." Now, I don't think, I take it back. Aikman's not interested in that. I know he's not. Partly because there'd be limited authority. Would he really be able to make an impact? That kind of job would have a floor and it would have a ceiling. And I think he'd decline that invitation because it wouldn't provide him the power to fix all the things here inside the Star that he soberly believes are broken. So that's Troy's answer to the dream of Cowboy fans who largely view him as the most credible Cowboys-related voice on the planet. Can we all agree with that? That if they could ever pull this off, and Neil, I think we all agree on this, would love to see it. Jerry will never surrender to that. I think we all agree on that. But we do all agree on Aikman as the most credible voice in the Cowboys world. It wouldn't be a guaranteed success. Anybody who says that is wrong. He's never done it. I promise you. Aikman and the salary cap, that's not his. He'd have to bone up. I'll just tell you. But again, Christmas wishes aside, it's hard to let go of Jerry's answer when asked when he would relinquish control of America's team. This is with Clarence. When I can't bleep and think, when I'm old and can't even do it. But I'm a long way from being able to not do it. So, Merry Cowboys Christmas. Fish out.